Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers masterpiece MP-52 Starscream 2.0. So as we always do here, let's go ahead and take a look at that packaging, and we'll take Starscream and move him out of the way, because this box is a pretty good size. So right up there at the top, you have Transformers masterpiece, Takara Tomy. You have a couple of product shots in both modes on the front. MP-52 Destron Air Commander Starscream version 2.0. It is a long life design. Over here on this side, you have Starscream. Up here on the top, you have Transformers Masterpiece Starscream. On this side, you have Starscream just in his jet mode. And let's do the bottom. On the bottom, you have Transformers Masterpiece with, all of that. And cool. He is officially licensed by Boeing as an F-15 Eagle. And on the back, I'll just leave that sit there for a second so you can take a look. You've got a bunch of product shots on there. Pretty much anything you can imagine. He's kneeling on Megatron. What I like is they did do a couple of the screenshots from the G1 cartoon showing what you can do. So he's kneeling on Megatron. He's got his little claw. He's got his little drill. Kind of cool. So they were very faithful to the G1 cartoon style of Starscream. Now, down here at the bottom, you do get 6 faces, and you get to do that crazy Starscream mode, and we'll take a look at that later on in the review. There he is in his alt mode. And here is the entirety of everything that comes in the package. He does come packaged in his jet mode. And he is actual size on the box. Well, let's see, shall we? Well, I would say that that's probably pretty close. All right, so that is it for the packaging. So what we'll do now is I'll bring in all the accessories, everything that came in that packaging, and after we look at all that stuff, we will take a look at Starscream himself. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at those accessories now, and I figured the easiest way would be to just show you in the clamshell how they came packaged in the box, so you can kind of see the layout there. So, this is just a 2-piece plastic clamshell, and this is how everything's laid out. You do get a lot of faces in there, and we'll take a close look at those here in a second. But yeah, I just figured I would show you this way. Now the one piece that you do not see in here, there's an empty spot right there. And what that is the clip that goes onto Starscream himself, and it goes right there in his back, and that is for the flight stand. Now I found that this is semi-permanent. I mean, it is a very firm clip, and it doesn't interfere with transformation. It doesn't look bad in bot mode, and I'm going to use the flight stand with him anyway. So this is now a part of Starscream, and it's not coming off anytime soon. But yeah, that's the piece that's missing inside the clamshell there. So let's go ahead and we'll take this lid off, and we'll take a look at all those accessories individually. So you just have these indentations right here, and just reach up underneath there and push on those, and then you can start lifting that piece off. Put that off to the side. Now, let's take a look. Let's start with the blast effects. So you do get 3 blast effects that you can use on either the null rays or on the Megatron gun. So what we'll do is, let's go ahead and get the Megatron gun out, and I will show you. So, starting with the Megatron gun. Now, this is a little different than the Megatron gun that we've gotten in some of the other masterpieces. So the first thing you notice, that trigger guard is not complete all the way around. That makes it a little bit easier for Starscream to get his finger on that trigger. So, but overall the level of detail here I think is pretty darn good. There's both sides of it. So yeah, looks pretty good. And then this does, the handle moves down as we've seen in other Megatrons, just slightly different. So if you remember the other Megatron guns, it was usually a split on that handle that allowed it to extend, and this is just an actual extension. Now the stock doesn't come off, and the suppressor doesn't come off either. So this is just all one piece here. Well, two pieces. It's two molded pieces that are together. But yeah, not too bad looking. And then in the end of the suppressor here, you do have that port. So you can just take a blast effect of your choice and plug it in, and you get some pretty wicked blast effect action going on. I think that looks pretty good. Alright, you could do, let's go ahead and put that blast effect off to the side. You could do the same thing here and have that traditional Megatron style blast effect that we've seen with some of the other masterpieces, and you could do something along those lines. Very cool. And finally, you could do this one. I kind of like this blast effect. It's not symmetrical. It's just a fun, cool effect. I really like this one. And same thing, just plug it in right there and get a big boom. That's cool. I like that a lot. All right, now the next thing that we'll take a look at, since we have those blast effects out, we'll take a look at those null rays. So these two null rays, as you would expect, are identical. Okay. Now, they have a cool effect on them here. So these null rays, this is obviously for the robot mode, but then for the plane mode, the F-15 mode, they transform into missiles, and the way you do that is you just pick this little flap up right there, and then you can spin this around, if I go the right way, and put that back down, and bada boom, bada bing, you have two completely different null rays. I think that's pretty cool. I like that. Alright, so for the null rays, it's just like the Megatron gun. You can take these effects and plug them in, and you could have something like that. You could have something like that. Or you could have something like that. Totally your choice, but very cool. Alright, now null rays are out of the way. Next thing we'll take a look at here, if I can get it out. May have to use one of the blast effects to help me here. Not only is it cool, it's a great tool. You have his little claw that he used in one of the episodes of the G1 cartoon. Great that they included it. And when we bring Starscream in here, I'll show you how to plug this in. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Neat little extra there. And then you have the chunk of whatever. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't remember what this was. I grew up watching the Transformers cartoons. I love Transformers all my life, but I can't remember every single thing in the moment. I don't remember if this is raw energon or if it's some other mineral from whatever 20 seconds in whatever episode from 36 years ago, maybe 37 years ago now, but there it is. All right. And then you have his screw. Again, same thing. This is something that he used in one episode and they decided to include it. I am not complaining. I just don't remember what episode it was. But yeah, very cool. So much like the claw, you see the ports here, and then you just plug those in where the hands are supposed to be. All right, and then we'll take a look at these afterburner effects. Now you'll use these in jet mode. You could also use these in robot mode when you use the flight stand. So what you do with these, they just plug into the bottoms of his feet, just right there, and give it one of those, and you're off and running, or off and flying. So yeah, very cool. You do get two of those. And then finally, let's go ahead and move that out of the way. You do get the faces And I'm not going to take the faces out, but I'll bring them in so we can get a little closer look here. So you do get shocked face, smirky face, laughy face, surprised face, and slightly smirky face. So there you go. The faces are really easy to change out. We'll just go ahead and do that now. Get that out of the way because it's fun and shocking to do this to Starscream. So this is the default face. This is what he comes with right out of the box. And, you know, you pull the old Optimus Prime and the Fallen, give me your face, and rip that right off. Oh, no! And now he's, yep, that's kind of disturbing. Now let's go ahead and give him surprised face because, you know, when you get your face ripped off, it has to be surprising. So let me move this out of here. I'm going to do this off camera to pop that out. And bear with me. There we go. So this clamshell is just kind of like a little blister pack, and you push from the bottom, and it helps get your face out. And to put the face back on, you just tuck it away in there. Line it up. And give it a squeeze. And give it a squeeze. Alright, it's a little crooked, but I'm not going to waste too much time on it right now showing you. But there he is with the surprised face. What's going on? That is not at all what Starscream sounds like. I don't do imitations, people. Alright, so that's it for the accessories that came in the clamshell. So let me move this on out of the way. Now I'm going to show you the last bit of accessories that he came with, which is the flight stand. So the flight stand comes in 2 pieces. All right. And there is some assembly required here. Please pay close attention. You squeeze them together. And voila, you have a flight stand. Or at least a flight stand base. Next piece, you get this. And this is a pretty cool setup. You know, so you just raise this up. You bring this down. And you've got a couple of notches here that line up to those notches there. Put it wherever you want. And then you have those 4 holes. Go to those 4 tabs. I know I'm doing this off camera, sorry. And just push it down. And there you have flight stand. All done. So, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Alright, so yeah, the last thing we'll do here for the accessories, since we've got him right there, we will put the null rays on him. We will stick him on the flight stand, and we'll throw a blast effect on the null ray. I will attempt to do the Megatron gun here, but I'm telling you now, I don't know what it is about me and Masterpiece figures with these little slots, or these little tabs that go into the slots in the hands. I never get them lined up, so his gun might be a little crooked. Just a heads up. Okay, so let's first things first, let's talk about those hands and how you put the screw on. So you just squeeze his hand down into the little fist mode. You open up this on the bottom, flip the hand in, close this up, make sure you get everything squeezed out of the way. Okay, what are you doing? Oh, I forgot, you have to spin the hand around. There you go. That's much better. Okay, so now there he is, amputee Starscream, and you can just take the little screw, stick the little screw right on there, and now you have him all kinds of crooked face surprised with the screw. Doing one of those. Yeah, don't mess with screw hand Starscream. Take that off, and you can stick the claw on there. The claw. And you can open the claw up and put that little mineral in there, and now it's like, whoa, I'm so surprised, I've got a rock. That's still not a Starscream impression. I apologize for that. All right, so that's the those are the 2-hand accessories. I'm looking at that crooked face, and it's driving me batty. I'm going to put the other face on there. It's just, I'm seeing him with that crooked face, and he just looks like he's got some kind of a problem. So, there we go. I'll stick that one back on. All right. Now, for the null rays, these are pretty straightforward, at least in this mode. You have these little posts right here, and you can bring that out and you have these ports on the side of his arms, and just plug those in, and then you drop them like that, and then you've got one null ray done. And same thing over here, just take this, pull it out, plug it into his arm, bring it down, and now you have two null rays done. And he still doesn't have a hand. We're not going to worry about that right now. And then what you can do for the null rays, again with that effect, let's go ahead and use this hand over here, plug that effect in, and let's get his hand out. Poor guy, you're getting manhandled here, Starscream. All right, so now you have that null ray, and he's firing it off, and I think that looks pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. Okay, now for the Megatron gun, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a blast effect on before I try to put him in his hand. So we'll do that. And then I'm not going to waste a lot of time trying to get it in that slot. I'm just going to get his finger in there and wrap those hands around and put that thumb down to give you the idea of the effect here. Got to get that thumb out of the way. There we go. So this is not the transformer, this is the operator. So, all right, there we go. Now you have Starscream shooting off Megatron with the blast effect, and you have the null ray in his hand. Now, the last thing we could do is, oh, his hip skirt's way up. There you go, bud. All right, now the last thing that we can do is we'll take these afterburner effects, if you will, stick those on him. Now I found that in this mode with this flight stand, it's not quite tall enough to support him with this, so I'm just going to kind of give you kind of a Matrix style look there, and you can see that he can do that if you want him doing something like that. And of course, without the afterburner effects on there, you know, he works a lot better, and there's you know, a little bit more clearance right there. But the flight stand works great in both modes, looks fantastic with the jet, so can't say enough good things about that. All right, so that is going to wrap it up for the accessories, of which there are plenty. And they all work great. I love all the accessories that came with them. It really adds value to the toy, so, or to the action figure collector's item, whatever you want to call it. So now what we'll do is we'll move on to the details and the articulation of Mr. Starscream himself. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get into the details and articulation of the figure. But before I do want to make a quick note that I know going in, this is going to be a long video, so I'm going to post the transformation separately from this video. So this is purely just a review video, but what I'll do is I will put a link in the description to the transformation video, and I will also have a card at the end of the video that will link you to the transformation. So if you're here to see how to turn this guy into a jet, be sure to click the link in the description or click the video at the end of this one. Purely just to save a little bit of time, because this is going to be long. There's a lot to get into. Now, that being said, we'll bring him in and we'll take a look at those details. So we'll start up here at the head, and he does have a good head sculpt. And as we talked about during the accessories, if you don't like that face, there are 5 more to choose from. So I'm sure you'll find something that you like. And then down here in the chest, you do have really nice. Now it's a minimalistic look, much like the G1 cartoon, but what detail they put in there works really well, and it just absolutely gives him that Starscream iconic look. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And same thing coming down here to the legs. So you do have that kind of a minimalistic style, but it pulls it off wonderfully. He just looks fantastic. And then he has those traditional Starscream boots, and you do have a little bit of detail here on the side, and of course you do have some panel lines for the transformation, and then just some other, you know, little parts, a little bit of kibble sticking out there for the transformation. And just kind of open those arms up here and take a look. So there he is under the arm and to the side. And right here, you do have really nicely detailed Starscream hands, those blue forearms as we always see. Now I did take the null rays off just so we could get a better look at the figure himself, particularly when we get into the articulation. But yeah, overall, this guy is just Starscream through and through. I mean, this is G1 Starscream, no doubt about it. And here he is from the back. So what we talked about, you know, that clear piece right there, that's for the mounting onto the flight stand. As far as I'm concerned, this is a permanent piece of Starscream now. It clips on very securely, and it doesn't get in my way, so, and I don't think it looks that bad, so it's just a part of Starscream now. But there he is from the back. No hollow areas, just absolutely gorgeous all the way around. All right, now that was it for the details, so let's go ahead and get into the articulation on this guy. So he's got some pluses and minuses when it comes to articulation, so let's go ahead and get into it. Now that head is on kind of a double hinged joint, you can see right in there as you look underneath, so it allows him to get a little bit of up and down. He can do a little bit like that, so you can get a pretty decent amount of down, and of course he can go all the way up, and he can go all the way around. All right, and here at the shoulders, this is where he shines. No doubt about it, this is where this figure shines. So at the shoulders, you can bring them up that far at the actual shoulder part, but they've integrated a secondary joint where you can bring those up like that, and you can get them all the way up. That is just fantastic. And then down here, you have a butterfly joint, so you can bring those arms out and get those right in the front of his body. That is great engineering. I love it. I can't say enough good things about it. All right, so that's the shoulders, and then I'm gushing about. Now we'll move on down to the elbows, and something I want to show you on the elbows here. You do get way over 90 on that joint. Now, when you have this figure in hand, he has a transformation joint right here. So make sure that these two halves are squeezed together, because if you have any slack in here, you're going to get him trying to bend right there as well. So just make sure those two are squeezed together. But yeah, you do get a great elbow bend, and he does have the bicep rotation, so he can go all the way around. Oh, up into the shoulder, you can do 360. Just be aware of the wing as well. And down here at the hands, you have the wrist rotation all the way around. You have wrist swivel out that far and in that far. Now it does bang into the thumb. The thumb getting into the fingers. The thumb has two hinges, so you can get a good amount of bend on that thumb, but he doesn't have a ball joint down here at the base, so you're not going to be able to swing that thumb forward. You know, he's just going to do that. All right. The fingers, however, are all of them individually articulated with all the right knuckles, so you can do, man, pretty much whatever you want with this guy. I mean, the finger articulation on him is wonderful. So very, very cool job. All right. Unfortunately, there is nothing at the waist, so that's a bit of a bummer. And then down here at the hips, you have to manually move the hip skirts out of the way so you don't interfere and run the leg into the hip skirts and potentially cause some damage. But when you move these out of the way, he is able to kick forward that far. Unfortunately, he can't kick backward very far. You're going to get basically one click before he starts running into all of his wing backpack. But he does get good splits. He's not quite a Van Damme. And these are tight, so bear with me. Not quite a Van Damme, but you can get a good amount of splits on this guy. And get him in a nice, you know, some type of a yoga pose if you want to do that. All right, and then put those hip skirts back down. All right, and now he does get limited thigh rotation. It's not a lot, but it's enough to help you get some poses. He does, however, have a really deep knee bend, so good articulation there at the knees. And then down here at the feet, this is probably my biggest gripe with the figure. He has, first of all, limited articulation in the feet. I would have expected more. So you can get back that far, you can get forward that far, and you can get some ankle tilt. Here's my problem. On mine, these are incredibly loose. So I don't know if it's an epidemic with Starscreams, because the movie Masterpiece Starscream is the same way. Just has super, super loose ankle joints. Now, to be fair for this figure, because of the way he's designed, it doesn't cause any issues in stability. It's just kind of annoying to me that those don't feel as tight as what I think they should be. Okay, so that's it for the details and the articulation on Starscream. So what I'll do is I will bring in some comparisons so you can see how he looks in his robot mode compared to some other figures. Alright guys, so for comparison, I figured the first one that we should start with is probably the most relevant. So this is the MP-52 Starscream next to the previous Masterpiece Seeker mold, the MP-11 mold, and this is Thundercracker. So I don't want to get into a whole lot of detail here, but by far the MP-52 is a huge improvement on this MP-11 mold. It looks decent in robot mode and it looks great in its jet mode, but gosh, this thing is flawed. The MP-11 is a flawed mold. So it's so nice to see this MP-52 mold come out and, you know, surpass it and take in the latest in engineering. So yeah, absolutely not going to waste a whole lot of time on this comparison, but I do want to oh so gently move these guys around, because for those of you who have the MP-11 mold, you know that almost looking at this thing, something is going to come loose. Either the wings are going to flop off, or not flop off, but they're going to come loose, or the entire, if you grab in the wrong place, the entire chest assembly will disengage. So just gently here, trying to put these two guys next to each other. You can see that although the MP-52 is a tad shorter, it's still the superior mold. I mean, everything tucks away nicely, far less of a backpack. The legs are just absolutely gorgeous. And even here in the back, flipping him around, and oh so gently flipping him around, you can see what he doesn't look awful, but this is definitely showing its age as far as the design. So, big difference there between the two. And like I say, just as far as handling, I can confidently pick Starscream up and move him around. Whereas with this guy, for those of you who haven't seen, I'm going to go ahead and show you. I'll turn him around here. This is kind of what you deal with the MP-11 mold. So let's get these two guys turned around, and you would think normally you're just going to want to grab a figure and pull them out of the way like that. Well, if you do that with MP-11, yeah, that happens, and then everything just starts falling apart on you. So then you try tucking that away, and then next thing you know, you've got a wing coming loose. So yeah, this mold not as good. This one's better for sure. All right, so that's it for the MP-11. I don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining. It's not a complaint. I'm just happy that he's being replaced. This mold is being replaced with this one. So you were good in your time, but your time is over. All right, so kind of adjust him there. All right, let's move on to the next comparison. All right, next up we have Starscream hanging out with a couple of his fellow Masterpiece Decepticons. So of course we have MP-36 Megatron And then we have my MP-13 knockoff Soundwave. And, you know, maybe it's me, but I don't remember Starscream being that much shorter than Megatron. But either way, I think these three look really good together. And obviously you can see how happy Megatron is to finally have another Decepticon in the fold, even if it is Starscream, right? You know, they always have that dysfunctional relationship, but right now they both look so happy, and I'm happy for them. All right, and here we have MP-52 Starscream next to the MPM-10 Masterpiece movie Starscream. And can you guess what these two have in common? That's right, they both have weak ankles. Of course, he has much weaker ankles. This guy makes me nervous every time I try to pose him. But there you go. All right, here we have MP-52 Starscream next to the Starscream as we saw him in Transformers Prime. Next up, we have the Starscream from Fall of Cybertron. Next up, we have the Leader Class Starscream from Combiner Wars with his Coronation Crown. Here we have MP-52 Starscream next to the Siege War for Cybertron Trilogy Starscream in his Tetrajet mode. Next up, we have the MP-52 Starscream next to the Starscream as we saw him in his Earthrise mold from the Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy. Here we have Starscream MP-52 next to the Kingdom Core Class Starscream. And I brought this guy in just because he is adorable and I love him. He's just so cute. Look at the little guy. Next up, we have the Studio Series Starscream from the Bumblebee movie. So you see how those two compare. And last but certainly not least, you have what remains of my G1 Starscream. So you can see just how far the engineering and design have come over the decades. Just amazing. So cool to see these two side by side right now. Alright, so that wraps it up for the robot mode comparison. So what I'll do now is I'll get Starscream and all the other guys transformed into their alt modes, and we'll take a look at the alt mode comparisons and see how he stacks up in that mode. Alright everybody, so before we get all the way to the alt mode, I did want to show this. This is one of the other modes that you can put him in, and per the instructions this is kind of the setup. So this is either, you can think of it as either he is coming in for a landing as he is transforming, or he is transforming into his jet mode as he's taken off. But either way, this is something you can do, and I think it looks really cool. It's just a lot of fun to set up, and it's great use of the flight stand. So you can see having the effects right there where you can have it, you know, look like he's taking off or landing or whichever one you want it to be. And it's just a really cool look, and I like that a lot, and I wanted to show that to you guys. So we'll finish him up here, get him into his alt mode, look at those details, and then we will bring in those comparisons. Alright guys, so here we have MP-52 Masterpiece Starscream in his jet mode. And I gotta tell you guys, this is a good looking jet mode, okay? So let's go ahead and bring it in for the details, and we'll take a close-up at everything that this mode has to offer. So we'll start right up here with that nose cone, and I'll do an overview of the entire jet, and then we'll get into some of the features here. And you can see that cockpit. Now there's a little guy in the cockpit. Starscream does not come with that little guy. This is actually the little silver guy that came with the MP-11 Thundercracker that I have. So I wanted to try it just for fun to see if he would fit, and hey, he does. So I figured I'd put him in the Starscream for this video. We can see some of that nice panel detail up at the top. Got that nice Decepticon logo on the wings. Definitely that gray and blue and red Starscream color scheme that we are so fond of. And take a look at those intakes. And then underneath here you can see how the null rays connect to the wings. And the null rays actually help to keep the wings quite sturdy. So you connect them right here, and then you have a little port underneath there, and it keeps the wings where they're supposed to be, and they're nice and stiff right now. So take a look at the underside. So, you know, there is some pretty obvious robot kibble if you know what you're looking for. But hey, overall, this thing just turned out looking great. So no complaints whatsoever. So a couple of the features, the first being the nose cone. So you can pop the nose cone open and you can see that radar array in there, and it does have really nice detail. I think that looks great. We'll close that up. And then you can pop this cockpit. And like I said, you can see the little dude in there from the Thundercracker, but I'll move him out of the way so you can see the seat detail. I think that looks really good. And then down here at the wings, you do have adjustable flaps. So you can adjust those whichever way you want. And then back here, you have these, which I don't think they're adjustable, or they're supposed to be adjustable, but because of the way that they assemble, you can move them up and down. And then you have your adjustable thrusters. This is much like the MP-11. You can angle these thrusters whichever way you want, within reason, of course. And then on the underside, you have your landing gear. So you have one there. And then you have the two landing gear in the back. And closing them up is pretty easy. You collapse the wheel, fold this in, fold that in, and voila. And same thing to get it out. Open that up, and pull that wheel. Alright, and then for the front landing gear, you just collapse that in and close that. And there you have it. Landing gear has been retracted. So something that I missed in robot mode, but I want to touch on here. He does have, much like the MP-11, he does have nipple missiles. So everyone can rejoice. The nipple missiles are still there. And there you go. That's just a great little feature. And it is nicely painted. You've got that silver, and then you have that purple and black right there. I think that looks good. So yeah, no doubt about it. This is a really, really cool alt mode. And although he's a jet, he does roll quite nicely. Alright, so I know earlier in the review I said that I wasn't going to be taking the flight stand mount off, but I changed my mind because I wanted to show you guys the landing gear and show you how well he rolled. So in order to do that, if you have this on, it sticks too far below and the landing gear won't touch the ground and you'll just be rubbing up on that. So I went ahead and took that off so I could show you Starscream in this with the landing gear down in this mode. And what I'll do now is I'll bring in some of the effects and I'll bring in the flight stand so we can get the full effect of him on the flight stand, and then we'll start getting into comparisons. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to retract those landing gear, and we're going to want to put that flight stand mount back on. So let's go ahead and take those landing gear and put those away. Get those all closed up. Retract this one up here. Get that closed up. And now for this mount, like I say, it is very difficult to put on, very difficult to take off. So I may struggle a bit with this, but you just take it and put it in those two slots. And give that a nice squeeze. There we go. Okay, So I made that look easy, didn't I? All right. Now, for the flight stand, you can bring that bad boy in. Let's go ahead and adjust that down a little bit. And bring this up. And then what we can do is we can take Starscream and we can just drop him on there, and that's still not helping, is it? I'm going to have to adjust my camera. So let me do that real quick. All right, that's a lot better. now that we have the camera adjusted, we can really take in and bask in all the glory that is MP-52 Starscream. This guy, it just looks amazing on this flight stand. I hope it's conveying on the camera, because in real life, I mean, this thing is just, wow. It's totally worth the wait. And frankly, totally worth the money. So, that being said, I'm starting to go off on tangents here. What we can do is we'll add some effects here, and we can just turn him around on the stand, and we'll do the obvious ones. Got to give him some afterburner effects. So let me turn it where I can get a little bit better grip on it. You simply just take these and put them on. And I'm being a little gentle because I'm reaching over across the camera to reach him, and I don't want to apply too much pressure. So you can actually get those on a little bit tighter than what I'm doing right now. But I think right there still gives you that great view of that absolutely incredible effect. The other nice thing about this flight stand, it is a multi-axis flight stand. So not only can you raise it, you know, in the Y or in the Z, but you can also move it in the X and the Y. So we can actually change the angle of this and bring that down so you can have a sweet, sweet view right there. I think that just looks amazing. I'm a kid in a candy store right now. This is just so cool. And of course, you know, you can apply some other effects as well. You know, you can of course keep those on, and unfortunately you do only get one of these. So if you wanted to swap these around and stick that effect on there, and you know, you may be able to do it a little bit right now, but no, that's unfortunate. But if you wanted to swap the null rays around so you had the gun look instead of the missile look, you know, you could obviously apply one of those, or you know, apply this one, or apply the one, you know, that I had earlier on the Megatron gun, which was this one. So just all kinds of great fun stuff that you can do with this guy. I can't say enough good things about him. So yeah, with all that being said, you know, we'll get this all cleaned up and get the stand out of there. And what I'll do is I'll bring in some of the comparisons in the alt mode so you guys can take a look and see how he stacks up against some of the other figures out there. Alright guys, so here we are with the comparisons. The first one that we have is the most relevant one in my opinion, just like in the bot mode. This is the MP-11 mold. This is Thundercracker. So you can see how the new MP-52 stacks up against the MP-11. And again, in their jet modes, both these guys look great. I mean, this one is a little more, I don't know, I guess the panel lines are almost a little more smooth than what you see on Starscream over here, but really overall, both of these jet modes look great. And I think what I'm going to do for my own personal collection is I'm probably going to keep the MP-52 Starscream, and I will keep the MP-11 Thundercracker. And what I'll do is I'll get an MP-52 Thundercracker, or a Skywarp, so that way I could have, you know, my Seekers collection in the Masterpiece scale. So, but yeah, overall they look great. And what we'll do here is we'll give you a couple different views so you can see these guys. I'm going to try to keep them in frame here as much as I possibly can. Try to back those up a little bit. I'm losing the nose cone Thundercracker a little bit there, but there you go. So you can kind of get a view there. And it's not going to work perfectly, but give you a little bit of a back-to-back. And give you the back view here so you can see what those two guys look like as far as a comparison goes. So yeah, I mean, in their jet modes, awfully darn close, and they both look good. And you kind of see the difference in the underside. So, you know, you do have a little bit different layout, and I think they both equally have their merits and could improve a little bit as far as the amount of robot kibble that you see. I mean, you do have some obvious fists right here, so there is that. But overall, really, they both look good, and as you can see just by my handling of him, the MP-11 mold definitely has its flaws as far as the I don't want to say the build quality, but the overall design and engineering of the mold itself. It's just a little more, I don't know, what's the word, not fragile, but you just want to handle it a little more with kid gloves than you have to with the MP-52 mold. So definitely showing its age, but his alt mode looks good. Alright, for our next comparison, we've brought in another Masterpiece Transformer. This is the NPM-10 Masterpiece Movie Starscream, so you can see how those two look together. You've got a F-15 Eagle in the MP-52 and an F-22, YF-22 in the NPM-10. Next up, we have the Starscream as we saw him in the Transformers Prime animated series. Next comparison we have is the Leader Class Starscream from the Transformers Combiner Wars series. Next up we have the Starscream, the Core Class Starscream from the Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron trilogy. And he's just a cute little guy. I love bringing him in. He's a lot of fun. And the next comparison we have is the Earthrise Starscream from the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy. I think those two guys look pretty good together. Got a little bit of a gap in my wing here though, don't I? There. That's better. And last but certainly not least is the G1 Starscream that I've had since I was a kid. So you can definitely see just the how good Hasbro and Takara, how dedicated they were to making sure that they tried to bring over as much G1 into this new masterpiece. And, you know, as I said in the robot mode, seeing these two guys next to each other, it's just amazing. It's awesome. I'm so happy to be able to see this, and you know, additionally, I'm so happy to be able to bring this to you guys so you can see it as well. So that's it for the comparisons. And what I'll do now is I will get the old G1 Starscream out of the way. We'll get MP-52 back into his robot mode, and I will give you my final thoughts on the new MP-52 Starscream. Alright guys, so my final thoughts on the MP-52 Masterpiece Starscream. Wow, this figure is amazing. It's not without its flaws. And let's go ahead and start with the flaws first and get those out of the way. First and foremost, I don't like those loose ankles. They don't, I have to emphasize this, they don't hinder posing or standing. It's just the way he's designed, but I don't like the loose feel of them. Everything else is nice and tight and feels, you know, high quality, but I don't like the feel of those ankles. So again, it doesn't hinder the posing, but it bothers me. Secondly, I don't like the fact that you cannot get a back kick on Starscream. He just simply won't kick his legs back very far. And I think that hinders posability a little bit. Now, those two items out of the way, everything else on this figure is superb. I mean, it fits the bill for the term masterpiece. You know, the build quality on everything except those ankles feels great. The transformation is fun. It's not very frustrating. It is involved. You know, there are a lot of steps to it, but it's not bad. It's not something that you're going to walk away from saying, gosh, I hope I never have to do that again. So it's a fun transformation. And the alt mode and the robot mode, they exude Starscream. I mean, this is Starscream through and through. The colors are on point. The the proportions, the way the figure looks, everything is just Starscream on this, and it's just an amazing figure all the way around. You get a ton of accessories that come with this guy, definitely help with the justification on the price point. He's not cheap, okay, but I think with everything that you get with him, you know, the flight stand, as you see, all the different faces, the different effects, the couple of the little gimmicks that you get with this guy, it makes it worth it. I mean, the presence alone of this guy, just especially comparing him to an MP-11 mold, this is just light years ahead of it. This thing is so much fun, and it looks incredible. So, yeah, the biggest issue with this guy is going to be the cost. But I think ultimately he's going to be worth it. This is going to be a very in-demand figure. This mold, it's a must-have, and it's definitely going to be a collector's item. So, you know, I would, if you can, I would highly recommend getting this guy and take him out and play with him. This figure is begging to be played with, to be posed, to be transformed. Everything about it just is so much fun. And it brings a childhood joy to me to see Starscream leaping off the screen and into my hands. This is really cool. So, you know, I don't want to keep gushing about him, but I do want to make sure that you understand that although the price point is high, I do think that this figure is certainly worth it. You know, the last thing that I would say is I don't remember him being as small when I had the comparisons between Megatron and Soundwave. I don't remember him being that much smaller than those two guys, but maybe he is. I'll have to go back and take a look. But yeah, this is definitely worthy of the name masterpiece for sure. I think Hasbro and Takara have knocked this one out of the park. So with that being said, you know, I do want to make a quick note. I said the transformation was easy, and I said it earlier in the review. I did not include a transformation in this review just because there was simply so much to cover. And I'm trying to pare this review down to be, you know, as short as possible, even though I know it's going to be long. So I will be putting a link in the description to the transformation video. I will do like I do every time. I will take him from robot to his jet and back to robot, and, you know, walk you through that. There's nothing real tricky with it, but I know, at least for me personally, it helps to have a transformation video. So I will get that out soon. I'll have the link in the description. I will also link it at the end of this video. So guys, with that being said, I'm going to wrap this review up. I can't say enough thanks for all the support that the channel is getting. If you're new to the channel and you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep bringing reviews like this out to you. We have a lot more really cool stuff coming. I don't want to say too much, but we're going to keep pumping out some really good reviews. And be sure to leave us a comment. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see a little bit different, what you want us to review or take a look at. We'd be happy to you know, consider all those options. So with that, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. And we'll catch you in the next one. And as soon as I stop recording here, I'm going to play with this dude. I'm excited just looking at him. So I'm going to let you guys go so I can get my hands back on this guy and have a little bit of fun. So with that, guys, we'll talk to you next time. Take care.